it seems to me, and I think this fits with this idea you're talking about, you're touching on it with systemic therapy. Once you start recognizing systems, the nature of systems, when you're sat there with the client, your mind has changed, their mind has changed, because the emergent mind is now emerging from a different base. So like you have to be both participating in change. And I think if you try and stick outside of that and go, right, I'm the one that runs the change, but I don't change. I mean, that's not me that does that. That's you, client.
Right.
That doesn't really work, but that doesn't get talked about that much,
No, I mean, going back to, if we look at the field of cybernetic epistemology, which grew out of kind of Gregory Bateson's work, and I won't go into all the history because that's probably not why people are here. But this idea that a system, when you're looking at a system, you're thinking you're outside the system, and most therapy is done that way. Whereas they would call that a first order cybernetics. A second order cybernetics is where you're in the system. You're a vital part of the system, pretty much as you're saying, the emergence. There's a great book back in 1983 called Aesthetics of Change by Bradford Keeney, which I know, James, you've read. But anyone else, I'd recommend to understand the idea of being a part of a system, and that the therapist oftentimes has to change themselves to help change the client. So it becomes this improvisational back and forth work, rather than it's something that I'm doing to you. And if you just watch a lot of who I consider the best therapists in the world that we at least have video of, there's usually a lack of adherence to their theory, even though they're doing their theory. If that's again, that's the paradox. The Taoist in me, it's a big paradox. Everything's paradox, But Virginia Satir had things she did. Fritz Perls had things he did. Albert Ellis had things they did. But yet their presence, the way they were, it's a more of an interaction. Now, what happens is a lot of times people after the fact go and they try to model things that they've seen. And then what they're trying to do is to do things outside the system to get, no, this is your irrational belief. Let's change your belief. But I'm doing it out here, as opposed to providing an interactive experience. And that's the term of experience. If we aren't giving our clients, no matter whether you're a therapist, a coach, a preacher, a rabbi, I don't know, you're not giving your people an experience that's different from their everyday experience or the experience they're having of their problem, the ability for them to change their problem is going to be a little limited, because other than that, first order cybernetic, we're just giving information. And sometimes information goes in and sometimes it doesn't. When we're part of a second order interactive process, we're not only giving information, but we're actually giving this in a experiential form. Getting them to do things, we're doing things, we're changing things, we're, in this interaction. I have a friend, very nice guy, who is a nuclear engineer, and he still has no idea what I do. I mean, he does what I do, but it's like him. Well, why don't you just tell him to do something different? Just tell him, give him the information, and and I'm like, God, would that not be the easiest, thing to just say, hey, you know what? You're screwing up your life here. Just do this different, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, and we're done. I'd love it. God, I'd love it. Right. But what being in this second order interaction, it forces us to become creative. It forces us to become an interactive party to this. Yes, we are totally taking responsibility for our session, but yet we're co-creating it as we go. So it's not that we're out here being the teacher. We're the participant. Yeah, you can be a coach out here and say, okay, here's some things you need to do. You're starting a business. Well, work on your business plan. Giving information. But a lot of times we need to kind of move beyond that. It's almost it's like playing volleyball. Now, you hit a ball over the net and they hit a ball and it comes back. You hit a ball and they hit a ball and it comes back. And this kind of thing. That's spontaneous. That's there's rules to it, but you never know what's going to happen in the game.
Mm.
And to me, that's a therapy or a coaching session, is that you don't know what's going to happen. Now, this makes a lot of people very uncomfortable because we just love certainty. I mean, it makes us relax and feel comfortable. But if you don't know what's going to happen, your anxiety may go up. But the great thing is, if you don't know what's going to happen, that opens the door to new experiences,
Right.
new ways of interacting. But if it's always what's known, well, I don't know, where do you go from that? If you always, it's kind of like telling somebody the same thing they've heard over and over again, and they go, I know. And then they just keep on doing the same thing, as
Mm.
opposed to giving them some kind of interactive experience that just shifts that
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's so much in that, which is hugely important. This point about an experience, inviting people into the experience, I really like that. It's one of the things I think that why hypnotherapy is a great container, because people come in expecting something weird.
Mhm.
But see, you got a license right off the bat to go, we're going somewhere else. We're not hanging around in the regular logical linear zone. You've got that complete license to take somebody out of their everyday response sets, anything that's anticipated, anything logical. You have a license up front to subvert that, because that's what the whole kind of frame is. And that's the point. Erickson used to talk about depotentiating habitual associative sets. If people can't do their default, they have to do something else. And when they can't do their default, I think their creativity comes back online. It has to. And I think for me, change work is I would call it change work, you might call it therapy, is a fundamentally creative act.
Mhm.
And for that reason, you have to participate in that creation, that creativity, that kind of improvisational quality, allowing that in. I think another thing important there that you addressed is that point about we love certainty. So many people, when they're learning, they want the certain thing. They want the correct steps to get to the correct outcome. And they feel insecure with certainty. But I always like to say that certainty is the enemy of possibility. And I think the certainty is also an enemy of change, because if we cannot open to anything beyond what we are certain of, how can there be change ever?
Right.
So there's that sort of releasing of certainty. And I think that's part of the sort of, I sometimes call it the container, which you're talking about here in terms of experience. And I think like when people learn hypnosis, for example, which is a major sort of framework that I would operate within, whatever that may be, hypnosis, uh, they learn these techniques, like you're saying, these kind of sit outside the system, and I'm going to throw my suggestions in, and I'm going to, or some people will read a script even.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at somebody like, you get this sense of Erickson working like this, and Stephen Gilligan is a great living example. If you ever spend time with Stephen Gilligan, and I'll do this all the time, it's just being able to be with somebody and connect with them. And because you are of one system and you allow yourself to be, as soon as you shift your own state, your own ground of being, the other person comes with you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
At least 99 times out of 100, or they may get up and storm out possibly as well. But either is good. But I think that's a really important thing, because we often think so much about the technique, the doing, right? What do I need to do? In what order? And we don't think about the being, how we are being in the moment, in the experience.